Welcome to this lecture on product selection and pursuit strategies. In the highly competitive and regulated medical device industry, choosing the right products for development is a strategic decision that affects regulatory compliance, market success, and organizational growth. This session will guide you through key criteria for product evaluation, approaches to secure executive support, recent market examples of successful devices, and realistic case scenarios. Throughout this lecture, you will gain practical insights into balancing technical feasibility, regulatory pathways, market potential, and IP considerations to make informed, strategic decisions. By the end of this lecture, participants will be able to understand and apply the foundational principles of product selection in the medical device sector. This includes evaluating devices against regulatory complexity, market potential, technical feasibility, and intellectual property strength. You will also develop strategies for securing executive buy-in, ensuring that regulatory considerations are recognized as strategic enablers. Furthermore, we will analyze recent examples of successful products to illustrate effective application of these principles. Finally, you will practice applying these insights to case scenarios that mirror real-world challenges, preparing you to make informed and defensible product selection decisions. These learning objectives establish the framework for structured discussion and active engagement throughout the lecture. Selecting the right medical device products for development is not merely a technical or marketing choice, it is a strategic decision that has far-reaching implications for regulatory compliance, market competitiveness, and organizational success. In a highly regulated environment, each product carries specific regulatory pathways, risk profiles, and market adoption challenges. This lecture will introduce you to structured methodologies that enable rigorous evaluation of potential products. We will discuss key criteria that guide selection decisions, such as regulatory complexity, market potential, technical feasibility, and intellectual property positioning. Additionally, we will explore approaches to align product selection with broader organizational strategy and ensure that executive leadership is engaged throughout the decision-making process. The introduction sets the stage for a detailed examination of how evidence-based, structured selection strategies can improve both compliance and commercial outcomes, emphasizing that the intersection of regulatory affairs and strategic management is critical for sustainable success. Regulatory complexity is a primary factor in medical device selection. Products are categorized by classification levels, which dictate development rigor, clinical evidence requirements, and submission complexity. Class 1 devices typically require general controls, Class 2 devices may need special controls or 510(k) submissions, and Class 3 devices often demand pre-market approval, PMA, with extensive clinical trials. Evaluating submission types early allows teams to anticipate timelines, costs, and risks. The presence of predicate devices facilitates 510(k) submissions, whereas novel products may require more rigorous evidence. Global harmonization potential is increasingly important for companies pursuing multi-market strategies. Consideration of regulatory frameworks across FDA, EMA, Health Canada, and other jurisdictions ensures that products are feasible for worldwide introduction. Effective product selection requires regulatory foresight to avoid delays, mitigate risk, and allocate resources efficiently, balancing compliance requirements with commercial objectives. Market potential evaluation is critical to ensure that the selected product delivers commercial value. Regulatory approval alone does not guarantee market success. Understanding unmet clinical needs, market size, growth trends, and competitive differentiation informs strategic prioritization. Competitive analysis identifies opportunities for unique positioning or incremental improvements over existing products. Reimbursement strategies and payer receptivity influence revenue projections and adoption rates. A robust pricing strategy considers both market expectations and cost of development, aligning financial targets with regulatory investment. Project managers integrate market intelligence with regulatory feasibility to assess the probability of achieving both compliance and profitability. This multidimensional approach ensures that resources are allocated to products with the highest strategic value, balancing short-term revenue goals with long-term market positioning. Technical and manufacturing feasibility examines whether the product can be developed reliably, produced at scale, and meet regulatory standards. Complex designs may require specialized materials, advanced production technologies, or extended validation cycles. Manufacturing scalability impacts both cost and time to market. Constraints in production capacity or supply chains can create significant delays. Materials and components must be reliably sourced and meet quality system standards. Integration with ISO 13485 quality systems and other regulatory requirements ensures that devices are manufactured in a compliant, traceable, and repeatable manner. Project managers assess feasibility to prevent technical bottlenecks that could delay regulatory submissions or compromise product performance. Technical risk assessments, prototyping, and process validation are integral to this stage, balancing innovation with practical deliverability. Intellectual property, IP, positioning safeguards competitive advantage and protects development investments. A robust IP strategy ensures that patents are pursued for novel aspects of the device, extending commercial exclusivity. Freedom to operate analyses prevent infringement risks in target markets, ensuring that launch timelines are not jeopardized. Trade secrets can protect proprietary methods or components, and licensing opportunities may support broader adoption or strategic collaborations. Incorporating IP evaluation into product selection ensures that regulatory and technical feasibility aligns with commercial defensibility. Project managers integrate IP considerations with regulatory planning to optimize both market entry and long-term strategic positioning, maximizing value from each selected product. Securing executive buy-in is essential for ensuring sufficient resources, organizational prioritization, and alignment with strategic goals. Demonstrating how regulatory strategy serves as a business enabler positions product selection within the broader context of organizational success. Clear mapping of regulatory milestones to business outcomes allows leadership to visualize impact and monitor progress effectively. Structured governance, regular steering committee meetings, and stage-gate reviews enhance engagement. Continuous communication of both regulatory challenges and opportunities ensures that executives remain informed and invested, mitigating risks associated with misalignment or inadequate support. Risk-benefit analyses quantify potential returns against regulatory and technical risks. Evaluating development costs across different regulatory pathways allows organizations to anticipate resource requirements. Timeline estimation identifies critical path dependencies and highlights potential bottlenecks. Probability assessments of regulatory success inform strategic decisions, balancing innovation with compliance feasibility. Market access analysis evaluates how regulatory decisions impact adoption, reimbursement, and competitive positioning. Project managers use these analyses to present evidence-based recommendations to executives, ensuring that resource allocation and strategic choices are aligned with both risk tolerance and organizational goals. Engaging executives early in the product lifecycle fosters ownership, accountability, and alignment. Regular steering committee meetings ensure timely oversight and decision-making. Stage-gate reviews with leadership participation provide formal checkpoints to evaluate progress and authorize resource allocation. Regulatory strategy workshops with cross-functional leaders encourage shared understanding of challenges, potential risks, and mitigation strategies. Transparent communication of regulatory insights ensures that leadership remains informed, can anticipate obstacles, and is empowered to make decisions that balance strategic objectives with compliance obligations. Early and continuous engagement reduces misalignment, accelerates decision-making, and supports successful product selection and pursuit strategies. Continuous glucose monitoring, CGM, devices like Dexcom G7 and Abbott Freestyle Libre 3 illustrate strategic product selection. These companies leveraged iterative development to enhance features while navigating established regulatory pathways. The transition from adjunctive to non-adjunctive use claims expanded market potential, demonstrating how strategic planning can align innovation with feasible regulatory pathways. Each iteration was carefully evaluated for clinical and technical feasibility, market demand, and potential regulatory challenges. Teams conducted risk assessments, developed validation protocols, and maintained comprehensive design control documentation to ensure compliance. The CGM example underscores that understanding both regulatory constraints and market opportunity enables informed selection and prioritization, ensuring that products meet unmet clinical needs while maximizing commercial impact. Companies achieve this by balancing time to market, development costs, and strategic platform positioning, illustrating how a structured, evidence-based approach to product selection translates into regulatory success and market leadership. Lessons from CGM product evolution emphasize the importance of foresight, cross-functional collaboration, and continuous engagement with regulatory authorities. Robotic surgical systems, such as those from Intuitive Surgical and Medtronic, demonstrate the application of strategic product selection in complex medical technologies. By carefully selecting indications and features, these companies balance innovative capabilities with regulatory feasibility. Modular system development allows incremental submissions, enabling stepwise approvals while maintaining compliance and minimizing clinical trial burden. This approach requires detailed analysis of regulatory pathways, technical feasibility, and market demand for each module or feature. Teams coordinate across engineering, quality, clinical, and regulatory functions to ensure that design controls, validation, and documentation support sequential approvals. Executive engagement ensures alignment with organizational strategy and resource prioritization. The experience of robotic systems highlights the value of combining incremental innovation, platform-based development, and structured regulatory planning to achieve both compliance and commercial success. Digital therapeutics, exemplified by Pear Therapeutics' Reset and Akili Interactive's EndeavorRx, showcase how strategic product selection can pioneer new regulatory pathways. These companies identified opportunities where software interventions could fulfill unmet clinical needs and developed regulatory evidence to support novel claims. Selection decisions required evaluation of clinical relevance, feasibility of evidence generation, technical development risk, and regulatory acceptance criteria. Teams collaborated across regulatory, clinical, and technical functions to define validation endpoints, usability testing, cybersecurity compliance, and quality management integration. This example emphasizes that product selection must not only anticipate regulatory requirements but also align with patient needs, market potential, and organizational capability to produce credible evidence, ensuring that the regulatory strategy enables both compliance and market success. Point-of-care diagnostics, particularly COVID-19 tests, provide an instructive example of product selection under urgent regulatory and market pressures. Companies like Abbott, Roche, and Cepheid strategically selected test formats and technological approaches that could rapidly navigate emergency use authorization (EUA) pathways while planning for eventual transition to standard regulatory frameworks. Product selection involved assessing technical feasibility, manufacturing scalability, supply chain robustness, and regulatory acceptance. Teams balanced speed of development with accuracy, clinical validation requirements, and operational capacity. Lessons from COVID-19 diagnostics illustrate that strategic foresight, cross-functional collaboration, and structured evaluation of regulatory, technical, and market considerations are crucial for selecting products that achieve both rapid deployment and long-term compliance. In this scenario, a company faces a decision between pursuing a breakthrough technology that requires a pre-market approval, PMA, pathway or an incremental improvement leveraging a 510(k) pathway. Option A offers significant clinical advantage but entails substantial clinical evidence generation, longer development timelines, and higher resource commitment. Option B provides incremental innovation with faster regulatory clearance and lower development costs, potentially delivering earlier revenue. Project managers must analyze time-to-market differences, resource requirements, opportunity costs, long-term strategic positioning, and the potential to establish a platform technology. Decision-making frameworks consider probability of regulatory success, alignment with organizational goals, and market opportunity. Structured evaluation ensures that the selected option balances short-term gains with long-term strategic value, mitigating risk while maximizing commercial and regulatory success. Global market entry requires evaluation of regional regulatory pathways, strategic positioning, and resource allocation. Option A prioritizes FDA clearance to secure credibility in the largest market, which may increase investment and extend timelines but can enhance long-term market confidence. Option B targets Europe through CE marking, which may provide faster market access and incremental revenue while validating regulatory strategy. Option C focuses on emerging markets to generate early revenue and clinical data, enabling subsequent entry into major markets. Decision-making must weigh regulatory resource availability, strategic value of reference markets, commercial infrastructure, and alignment of product features with regional clinical needs. Comprehensive assessment ensures informed, strategically sound market entry decisions that support sustainable growth. Platform technology expansion requires careful selection of applications that balance risk, regulatory feasibility, and market potential. Option A targets high-value, highly regulated applications that may enhance prestige but require significant clinical evidence. Option B focuses on lower risk, broad market applications for steady adoption and revenue. Option C explores specialized applications with potential expedited regulatory pathways for niche markets. Decision-making leverages existing regulatory approvals, predicates, and clinical data to minimize redundant testing. Considerations include incremental evidence requirements, regulatory precedents, resource allocation, and alignment with organizational strategy. This scenario illustrates the value of structured, evidence-based decision-making in product selection to optimize regulatory, technical, and commercial outcomes. Effective product selection requires a multidimensional approach that simultaneously considers regulatory feasibility, market potential, technical capability, and intellectual property positioning. Structured evaluation frameworks support informed decision-making, ensuring that each potential product aligns with organizational objectives, resource availability, and strategic priorities. Executive engagement is critical for securing support, guiding resource allocation, and reinforcing the alignment of regulatory strategy with business goals. By integrating lessons from recent market examples and realistic case scenarios, organizations can develop portfolios that maximize compliance, market impact, and long-term sustainability. The application of structured, evidence-based methodologies enhances the probability of regulatory success, mitigates risk, and strengthens competitive positioning. Key takeaways from this lecture emphasize that product selection is a strategic exercise integrating regulatory, technical, market, and organizational considerations. Regulatory complexity and market potential are foundational criteria, as they influence timelines, risk, and potential revenue. Technical feasibility ensures the device can be developed and manufactured reliably, while intellectual property positioning safeguards competitive advantage. Executive engagement is vital for alignment, resource prioritization, and decision-making transparency. Structured evaluation frameworks, including risk-benefit analyses, scenario planning, and iterative assessment, enable organizations to make strategic, defensible decisions that optimize portfolios for both compliance and market success. Incorporating lessons from real-world examples reinforces practical applicability and prepares teams to navigate complex regulatory landscapes effectively. In closing, product selection and pursuit strategies are essential for achieving regulatory compliance, market success, and organizational growth. Teams should apply structured criteria, considering regulatory pathways, market dynamics, technical feasibility, and intellectual property positioning to select products that maximize strategic value. Case scenarios provide practical learning opportunities to test decision-making frameworks, evaluate trade-offs, and anticipate regulatory challenges. Continuous alignment with both regulatory obligations and business objectives ensures that selected products contribute meaningfully to long-term organizational goals. By applying these principles, organizations can build sustainable, compliant, and market-relevant portfolios, enhancing competitive advantage and ensuring patient-centric innovation.